Welcome to the video lecture series on Python programming. This video is about exception handling. In this video, we will discuss about the exceptions and the specialty of Python means try and accept, how the debugging is done in Python and what are the errors which generally comes and how to name a particular error. Generally, we see when we take the input from the user, it should be kept in the mind to code it in a well-defined manner. If I am talking about x is equal to an integer, then int is required before the input value, or I need to typecast somewhere else. So what about the things if I forget this part, or if it is mentioned that add two numbers and still user is mentioning here a string or character or any other value. So how to deal these type of problems? For this, in Python, we have a try and except statement. Sometimes the statements which we generally see is not understandable clearly, or we can say these are the not user friendly messages which we generally see in the error part. So what is the solution? So the solution is, if these type of messages means trace back, naming error and something something, so this something something should be more understandable to the user. If it generally says the entered value is string and it should be integer, the entered value is 0, it should be greater than 1, this seems much better. Have a look to an example. If we talk about the try and catch in other programming languages, so this value is placed in the catch block. In Python, we have try and except instead of that catch. Try generally tests a code of errors and except block handles the error. This is the syntax of try and except. When we talk about the error like this, in this case, it is clearly mentioned that I is a integer. This is the same program I have discussed in my previous video about to check a number whether it's a even or odd. In this case, if intentionally or unintentionally user is mentioned here a, in this case we generally get a value error which shows, okay, take a minute and see what the error is showing. In this case, it is clearly mentioning here that it's a value error. This is showing value error, traceback, and it is mentioning here your code with the lines, and in line number 2 it is highlighted by the arrow that value error, invalid literal for int with base 10. What it means? So this is the issue. A Python is giving you a value error means something is wrong in the value, but what exactly the problem is, what is the meaning of this invalid literal for int with base 10? So sometimes we know that this mistake is done in the programming and a problem is very simple, but still we are unable to fetch what exactly the problem is. What is the part if we get a simpler message? In this case, when we know the entered value is a, can we do something so that user can easily catch this point? Yes, we can do with the help of try and except. And the thing is like this. Here, what I did, I have used a try and except block. In this case, if a entered value is easily converted to the integer, means it is a part entered string by default and easily converted to the integer, then execute this code. Otherwise, give an message to the user which is enter an integer please, means the value which you have entered is not an integer. So this error message is shown using the except block. This is the example which is clearly showing a message and seems better than the previous one. When we talk about the compilation and debugging, there are so many errors which are not clearly understandable by the user. Although which type of error it is and where it is encountered means the line number and the message is clearly decided and discussed by the Python, but still there is some sort of issue like this. In this case, we know the error is in line number 2 and it's a value error, but still there is a issue in understanding the problem, where the problem is. So how to deal with these type of problems? So one way is to use try and except block, and there is one more way to deal with this, and the solution is naming errors. In this case, we can put a message here. If there is any sort of typecasting problem, we can say use this raise. Please focus on the keyword which is a reserved one, raise, and write a message inside the exception. Now, what is the beauty of this part? It looks good when we see there is no name error, no value error. In this case, you are seeing your own customized statement like input value is a string, make it an integer. I think this is much better than the last slide which we have seen with the error which is saying some sort of int function is there with the base 10. What it means? I am not using any log function, so why it is base 10 or base 2? This is a clear message, input value is a string and make it integer. So this type of things are good in Python, and you can change the methods like this. Thank you for watching this video. In next video, I will discuss about the functions.